Hello everyone, this is Vivo Mystery Cases. We have shared a lot of UFO incidents that consistently happen in the world. One common thing with these incidents is that the witnesses is only one person or a few people. Today, we're sharing with you this incident that occurred in the last century and is known as the mysterious incident with the most witnesses in the world so far. In a small town in Portugal, a total of 70,000 people witnessed the manifestation of the Virgin Mary. The incident occurred in 1917 when World War I was spreading all over the world. The war was then divided into two camps, the Allied power and the Allied power. In the first year of the war, Portugal trying to remain neutral, but with the German blockade of Britain, it seriously affected the Portuguese economy. In March 1916, Portugal joined the Allied powers against the Allies. Together with the worldwide pandemic of Spain in 1918, it can be said that the situation in all countries was turbulent at that time, and the incident of the Virgin of Fatima occurred in such situation. Under the background of the environment, at about 12 noon on May 13, 1917, in a small town called Fatima, 3 shepherd kids played on an open field in front of the town. The oldest of the 3 was Lucia Santos, 10 years old, followed by his 9-year-old cousin Francisco Marto and 7-year-old cousin Jacinta Marto. When the 3 children were playing, a dazzling light suddenly appeared in the skyland. A very beautiful woman appeared on a large branch in front of them. According to the children, the Virgin in white cloth shone brighter than the crystal, holding a string of rosary in her hand. Her hands folded together under her beautiful face, and there seemed to be a trace of sadness. The Virgin told the children that she came from heaven and promised the children that they would take them to the heaven in the future. Under the big tree, the children and the Virgin made a simple exchange. The Virgin told the children that in the next few months, she would appear here at the same time, on the 13th of each month, and told the children to peace, and those who are suffering want the children to read the Rosary more. The Rosary is a Catholic scripture used to salute the Virgin Mary, and everyone must know that she is the biological mother of Jesus Christ. The New Testament says that the Virgin was called by God when she was a virgin, and she gave birth to a child named Emmanuel, which means that God is with us, and this, later, is Jesus Christ. In short, when the Virgin Mary first appeared, the witnesses had only these 3 children. After the children returned home, they quickly told the matter to the adults, saying that they saw the Virgin Mary. The reaction of the adults can be when I thought about it. They told the children not to lie or spread such rumors from time to time, but the children insisted that the Virgin Mary was true. June 13 soon came. This time, the children came under the big tree as scheduled, and this day, some adults secretly followed the children to see, but the adults did not see the Holy Mother. The children who were kneeling on the ground were talking to someone with one piece of lips, but they could not hear the sound. This time, Lucia, 10 years old, asked the Virgin Mary when she would take them to heaven. The Virgin said that Francisco and Jacinta will be taken away soon, but hopes that Lucia will stay in the world for a while. In the second manifestation, Lucia asked the Virgin to treat a critically ill patient in town, but we don't know if it was a coincidence or that the children was really manifested and the patient wasn't really good in the end. At that time of the third manifestation, on July 13, the Virgin Mary told the 3 children and 3 secrets. This is the 3 famous Fatima predictions, which we will talk about later. The children witnessed the story of the Virgin Mary's manifestation on the 13th of every month and quickly walk around the surrounding towns. In fact, at that time, Portugal had just overthrew the monarchy and established a republic, and the new government issued many anti-Catholic decree. Residents of all religious institutions were expelled, the items were confiscated, and what the three children said about Virgin Mary Leah's story is undoubtedly of a strong religious nature. Fatima's municipal police, in order to prevent this confusing message from spreading further on August 13th, they used a little trick to arrest the three children and threatened them to speak Fatima's three major languages. However, these three children were secretive regardless of how the police threatened and intimidated and frightened them. They firmly claimed that the Virgin's manifestation was true. During their detention, the children also led other prisoners to read the rosary together. The cell was driven by three children and the chanting room. The police could only release three children. Due to the appointment of the manifestation time on August 13th, the children were in the cell, so they were not able to go to the appointed place. But it was the police arrest of the three children that made more people aware of the manifestation of Our Lady of Fatima event. On September 13th, more than 20,000 people gathered near the tree where the Virgin will appear, preparing to witness the miracle together. At about 12 noon, several witnesses first saw a spherical light next to the big tree, pointed at the sky and yelled, "She is coming!" And then a 16-inch columnar cloud appeared next to the big tree, indicating that the Virgin is about to appear, and the hot and humid summer becomes cool and pleasant. After the Virgin appeared this time, he told the three children that he would reveal his identity on October 13 and perform a miracle to convince everyone. When the Virgin left, people also heard a loud noise that shook the whole earth like thunder. The last manifestation of the Virgin of October 13 pushed the whole event to its climax, and the sun miracle that was widely circulated later appeared. At that time, the number of onlookers reached an unprecedented 70,000 people. Not only Catholic believers were present, but many skeptics were waiting to see this farce revealed. It has been drizzling since October 12 the night before. At about 1 o'clock noon on October 13, Lucia told people that it was time to put the umbrella away. At this time, a column of cloud was again the position where the three children appeared rises, and suddenly the sun loses its brilliance, and then a head emerges from the dark clouds, starting to rotate at an alarming speed, jumping up and down, changing different positions, and lasting for about 10 in a few minutes. The muddy and ground and people's clothes wetted by rain quickly dried up, and the clouds showed different colors. In the villagers' own words, the colorful sun jumped the walls in the clouds, and tens of thousands of people fell to the ground to pray to the Virgin. The scene was very spectacular. On that day, even people tens of kilometers away witnessed the sun miracle. At the last manifestation of the Virgin Mary on October 13, she told the three children that the war is coming to an end. The world will usher in peace, and the soldiers will return to their homeland, hoping that people will build a church here and continue to read the rosary for those sinners. Pray for forgiveness. It is worth mentioning that here in the several consecutive events of the Virgin Mary, only those three children can communicate with the Virgin, while everyone else saw the strange sight. This matter was quickly adopted by Portugal's most influential newspaper. The publication caused extensive discussion. At the same time, people also remembered the three secrets that were sold to the children when the Virgin appeared for the third time. It was a coincidence that Francisco and Jacinta among the three children died soon after the outbreak of the Spanish flu. Remember that the Virgin told Lucia that he would soon take Francisco and Jacinta to heaven, but Lucia will stay in the world for a while. This coincidence is really shocking. According to the request of the Virgin Mary, the residents of Fatima began to build the sanctuary of Our Lady of Fatima in 1928. The scale is very grand, and it was completed in nearly 25 years. 2 years after the construction of the temple in 1930, the Holy See firmly declared that the event of dedication of the Virgin house is worth believing. At this time, only Lucia was the only person who knew that the three prophecies of Our Lady Fatima and Lucia had been the key protection object of the Holy See. Lucia published the first two prophecies in her memoirs of the first time in 1941. The first prophecy said that Our Lady showed us a great sea of fire, which seemed to be underneath the earth. Plunged in this fire were demons with souls in human form, like transparent burning embers, all blackened or burnished bronze, floating about the conflagration, now raised into the air by the flames that issued from within themselves together with great clouds of smoke, now falling back on every side like sparks in a huge fire, without weight or equilibrium, and amid shrieks and groans of pain and despair, which terrified us and made us tremble with fear. The demons could be distinguished by their terrifying and repulsive likeness to frightful and unknown animals, all black and transparent. This vision lasted but an instant. How can we ever be grateful enough to our kind Heavenly Mother, who had already prepared us by promising in the first apparition to take us to heaven? Otherwise, I think we would have died of fear and terror.
The first prophecy is not so much a prophecy, it is an illusion. It is obvious to see the sight of hell. The second prophecy says that we have seen hell where the souls of poor sinners go. To save them, God wishes to establish in the world devotion to my Immaculate Heart. If what I say to you is done, many souls will be saved and there will be peace. The war is going to an end. But if people do not cease offending God, a worse one will break out during the pontificate of Pope Pius XI. When you see a night illumined by an unknown light, know that this is the great sign given to you by God, that He is about to punish the world for its crimes, by means of war, famine, and persecutions of the Church and the Holy Father. To prevent this, I shall come to ask for the consecration of Russia to my Immaculate Heart, and the communion of reparation on the first Saturdays. If my requests are heeded, Russia will be converted and there will be peace. If not, she will spread her errors throughout the world, causing wars and persecutions of the Church. The good will be martyred. The Holy Father will have much to suffer. Various nations will be annihilated. In the end, my Immaculate Heart will triumph. The Holy Father will consecrate Russia to me, and she shall be converted, and a period of peace will be granted to the world. The second fable is to predict the end of the First World War and the outbreak of the Second World War, as well as the formation of an extremely anti-religious Soviet ideology. The prophecy also calls on Russia to dedicate. If Russia dedicate, the world will be peaceful. Otherwise, it will bring life to death, and many countries will be destroyed. The second prophecy is actually very controversial because in 1941, the Second World War had already broken out, but with some knowledge. The second person who predicted the authenticity refuted that the situation from 1941 seems that the Soviet Union is completely impossible to defeat the Nazi Germany. In the early days of World War II, due to the sudden attack of Nazi fascism, the Soviet army was defeated all the way, but the outcome we all know is the defeat of the German army in 1945. However, in World War II, the Soviet Union was the largest, the most tragic, and the most deadly battlefield. With the tenacious fighting spirit, the Soviet Union completely destroyed the powerful fascist regime with huge sacrifices, and it has since become a superpower. So it seems that the prophecy is fulfilled, but these are all things of the past. People are more concerned about how the third party predicts the future of mankind, but Lucia was silent on the third fable and was unwilling to speak. In the end, the Holy feared that one day he might suddenly fall ill or die, so the third parable would never be known to the world. So in 1944, Lucia wrote the last prophecy and sent it to Bispo de Leiria in the form of a secret letter. For more than 10 years, this secret letter has been placed with Bishop Leiria.
He was sent to the Holy See only in 1957, but after receiving the secret letter, the Holy See started that the third parable, they did not intend to make it public. This has left thousands of people scratching their hearts in rumors. People have finished talking. Many people think that mankind is going to be extinct. The Third World War is about to erupt, and it is because the Holy See is not public. The third fable also triggered an incident of hijacking on May 2, 1981, on a plane from Dublin, Ireland, to Heathrow International Airport in London. A 56-year-old Australian man, Lawrence Downey, suddenly rushed out to his body when the plane was about to reach his destination, liquid, holding a lighter in one hand and a bottle in one hand. The captain was threatened to let him turn to the plane to Tehran, Iran. The captain had no choice but to agree to his request, but the oil was not enough. Under the negotiation, the robber agreed to let the plane land in Paris, France, and refuel. At the same time, the special forces in Paris, France took the opportunity to hurry up and subdue Lawrence. But when everyone asked about the purpose of the Lawrence hijacking, people got an answer that made them cry. One reason is that Lawrence asked the Pope to disclose Fatima's third secret. Although this incident of hijacking did not cause any major casualties, Lawrence did 5 years in prison for his crazy behavior. Finally, on May 13, 2000, the Pope announced on the 30th anniversary of the appearance of the Virgin of Fatima on the 30th anniversary of the announcement that the third secret will be announced next month, and the CEO will also be present. So what is Fatima's third prediction? Right in obedience to you, my God, who command me to do so through His Excellency, the Bishop of Leiria, and through your most holy mother and mine. After the two parts, which I have already explained, at the left of Our Lady and a little above, we saw an angel with a flaming sword in his left hand, flashing. It gave out flames that looked as though they would set the world on fire, but they died out in contact with the splendor that Our Lady radiated towards him from her right hand, pointing to the earth with his right hand. The angel cried out in a loud voice, "Penance, penance, penance," and we saw in an immense light that is God, something similar to how people appear in a mirror when they pass in front of it. A bishop dressed in white. We had the impression that it was the Holy Father. Other bishops, priests, men and women religious going up a steep mountain, at the top of which there was a big cross of through-hewn trucks as a cork of a tree with the bark. Before reaching there, the Holy Father passed through a big city, half in ruins and half trembling with a halting step. Afflicted with pain and sorrow, he prayed for the souls of the corpses he met on his way. Having reached the top of the mountain, on his knees at the foot of the big cross, he was killed by a group of soldiers who fired bullets and arrows at him, and in the same way, there died one after another the other bishops, priests, men and women, religious, and various lay people of different ranks and positions. Beneath the two arms of the cross, there were two angels, each with a crystal aspersorium in his hand, in which they gathered up the blood of the martyrs, and with it sprinkled the souls that were making their way to God. For some Catholic believers, this paragraph may be very easy to understand, but for the people with no religion and different beliefs, they may find it difficult. The Holy See's interpretation of this passage was that the third fable did not disclose any major events in the future, nor did it reveal any major mysteries. The purpose was to guide and encourage people to move in the right direction, but many people do not accept this explanation of the Holy See. They think that if the third parable really has nothing, why is it unwilling to disclose it for more than 10 years? Others said that the third fable was actually tampered with. The real fable is that mankind will soon face disaster. The third is whether the fable has been tampered with. Let's just say it's for the time being. Let's first put aside religious factors to see the authenticity of this whole event. I think the biggest and most obvious bug is that in several manifestations, no one has ever taken the real body of the Virgin or the so-called sun miracle with the camera, and we will see the Virgin and can communicate with the Virgin, that is, after the death of the 3 children in Francisco and Jacinta. Lucia has become the only channel to transmit the message of the Virgin. Some photos of sun miracles can indeed be seen in newspapers and online. The most famous one should be this one. This is an iron proof of a sun miracle published by a well-known Portuguese newspaper in 1951. But the question is, how can you prove that this photo was taken on October 13, 1917? Most of the photos published in the newspaper at that time were scenes of tens of thousands of people kneeling and praying on the ground. There was no flash of the Virgin Mary or the so-called sun miracle in the sky. If this is really an actual proof of the sun, why not publish such photo in those years? Since then, some people have put forward it, assuming that the day when the sun miracle happened, suddenly high and low, suddenly far and near, the dancing luminous body is not the sun at all, but a UFO, and the Virgin manifestation seen by the three children is probably the children of alien civilization and unknown. Because of the religious education they received from childhood, they thought it was the Virgin Mary. Just when the UFO incident said it wasn't indisputable to argue with the Virgin Spirit, another group of people said, "You are all wrong. That is a collective illusion." Remember we talked before a person traveling alien that period and mentioned Yuba prophecy. It is interesting that in this book also is specifically referred to the apparitions of Our Lady of Fatima event, Yuba civilization. Thou said Fatima event is a collective hallucination alien manufactured. Thou said that the aliens can control human psychology activities, thus create collective hallucinations. For example, if you want humans to see the spaceship, then first of all, let humans have the psychology of wanting to see the spaceship. If you want humans to see the elephant, then you need to have the psychology of seeing the elephant. This is the so-called thinking. See? In fact, there are not many incidents of collective hallucinations in history. The most famous is the Godzilla incident in Antarctica. In 1958, a Japanese vessel surveying Antarctica saw with a large unidentified creature of the coast of Antarctica. This creature has no hair on the whole body. The body is shaped like a giant lizard with a jagged spine protrusion. Just as archaeologists prepared when picking up the camera to shoot, it was found that the monster was gone. Since then, this event has also been made into the movie Godzilla. In fact, in recent years, many physicists have suggested that time may be the biggest collective illusion. When describing things and describing time, we often like to use the word now. It seems that the present is easily separated from the past and the future. If there is really a spaceship carrying you around the black hole, both you and your loved ones on the spaceship feel that time is normally lost. But when you return to the Earth, your family may complain that you have been away for so long. But you might say, I just went for a few days. Einstein's theory of relativity is also relative. Your past can be my future, and my present could also be your past. Time is not an essential part of the material world. The reason why we feel the passage of time is because human consciousness will perceive that matter is changing, and change will be a produced process. Our perception of this changing process produces time. Whether time really exists is another topic we will have time to explain to you another time. Returning to the Fatima incident, whether the Virgin has really manifested so far, Catholic believers and non-religious believers are still arguing. In a huge debate, Lucia passed away on February 13, 2005 at the age of 97. Now, Fatima, a small city with more than 10,000 permanent residents, has become a miracle city in the world. Every year, countless people came to the temple of Our Lady of Fatima to worship because it is the place closest to God. Any thoughts about the apparition and the manifestation of the Blessed Virgin Mary? Drop your comments below and we'll be happy to discuss it with you. If our channel reaches 10,000 subscriptions, we will draw a lucky viewer among our subscribers to give 2 trips to and from the temple of Our Lady Fatima for a chance to look at this place closest to God. Please continue to support our channel. We will occasionally send out mysterious prizes. Thanks for watching!